Good morning to you all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show, and I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for being here. I see Fox in the chat. I see Frankie Paliguacci, Lone Silencer, Chief Mike Marino. I salute you, Big Mike, my former gym partner, going to the gym every morning. Matt O'Brien, Hassan, the original Hassan. Hassan, I still have your espresso. I'm trying to get the machine to actually, try it out for once. Also in the chat, Frankie Paliguacci, by the way, right here, right off the bat, $9.99 to the Sal Greco Show. Says, God bless everyone. God bless everyone and support the show. Thank you, Frankie, and also should be supporting you as well. Nighthawk is here. Joe Roscoe is here. So we got a full house of all the usual. Terry Murnane's always here. And we're going to get to a lot of stuff today. Crazy stuff in the New York City Police Department. But before I get into that, I actually posted this, and I'm going to get into this now because before I address anything, I think it's right that we address the Joe Cop, or we say hairbag, right? Now, this isn't it. This isn't it. No, this isn't it. This is a video. Not yet. I had put this up on my ex, right? And it's a picture, and it best depicts what's going on with all these Joe Coppers that get in the comments and do all these. They say these crazy things to me, or believe in the comments. So I went at it with him. So as you could tell right here, this is a picture of what we say is a hairbag, and you'll see, or Joe Cop. That is Bam Bam from Flintstones. And what Bam Bam is saying is, I know everything. I may not have a law degree, but I know the law. You should all listen to me. I hate the leadership, complain all day, but God help you if you speak out and expose anything. I will flip your locker and browbeat you or worse. I'm Joe Cop, and we are hairbags for life. This is what I had posted with this. Meet the gatekeepers of law enforcement, otherwise known as Joe Cop, who represent the hairbag for life society in law enforcement. They talk a big game, especially in the police locker room, complain a lot about the profession, but in actuality, protect the very system they complain about with vigor. They may pop up in your comment section next with their stupendous, glorious, and uneducational comments that never address the issue at hand, but attack you personally instead. This society consists of retired cops and those still in the profession under pseudonyms as not to get in trouble with their law enforcement agency. Fellow Joe Cops care what they say, but the public's trust in law enforcement continues to erode thanks to their ideology and rhetoric. Their bloated egos couldn't recognize their own ridiculousness if it smacked them in the face, yet they don't even trust each other. Be wary of said Joe Cop, who claim to know everything but know nothing at all. And this is the best depiction of what I'm talking about. Now, what you need to understand is, like, you had a Joe Cop in the comment with the sergeant that was arrested. They said, oh, well, there's a new procedure. I don't know if he's a state trooper. I don't know who he is. He's on Instagram. Here's the bottom line. You don't need anything for probable cause. It's just an off-duty cop. Since when do you have to wait for Letitia James to tell you what to do? Weeks upon maybe months down the line. You arrest this person on the scene. There was a cover-up. But Joe Cop can't help themselves. They just can't. They can't. They always, and if, listen, I dealt with this type of behavior for 14 years. I don't have to do it anymore. I'm not. Okay. And it's about time that everything gets exposed. So this is going behind the blue wall. That's the kind of guy that brings the energy down in the room and sucks all the energy out of the room. They sit there, like I said, hairbags for life. They know everything and they don't know anything. You're not a lawyer. I don't care what situation you're in. They just have to give you their point of view and they browbeat you. Then they complain all day and night about who's the CO, the commanding officer, the sergeant, the lieutenant. They're telling me to do this. We need to do this. We got to organize and do that. And then The minute you or someone else tries to do something or become a whistleblower, this is Joe Cop. He's browbeating you. Then they're trying to threaten you. They'll flip your locker. I don't know. Maybe they follow you on the way home. They see you somewhere off duty. These guys are nuts. And on top of it, they don't trust the other Joe Cops. And those are the ones surrounding them, cheering them on. Eventually, they all turn on each other. That's the life of the everyday law enforcement guy. You're an honest cop going to work, and then you got to deal with Joe Cop. And there's a herd of them. But then when something comes out, like a video I'm going to put up in a little bit, where a cop gets indicted or something goes wrong, first they're arguing with you for putting something out regarding that or reporting on that, right? So I'm a bad guy because I report on this, because I'm supposed to be swearing to some omerta. Remember, there's an omerta too. When you raise your right hand and you swear to be a police officer, you're actually swearing to a cult, a society or something, and you have to swear to omerta. So if you report on things now when you're a journalist, you work for the media, you're a snitch, you're a rat, you're all these different things. They're in your comment section, like I said. But then the Daily News writes a story, and I don't see Joe Cop in their comments or all over their social media or screaming and yelling in the locker room. They're saying he should have known better. So this is a total fugazi. Hairbag is like the lowest form of human scum there could be. And that's what Joe Cop is, the level just above that. But then there's the hairbag society, and they're all part of it. So this is what it's like to work in police departments. So you need to remember this. This is on top of everything else that's going on, because you always have this know-it-all or the group of know-it-alls, the hairbags, and they cause so much damage, and no one ever speaks about it. And delegate included. Sometimes it's even the union delegate. More than likely is the hairbag, because they get everything. You don't get anything. They get everything. And they only protect their buddies or people in the same, circles. Yeah, here's a good one. BSKI 824. Shout out to you. He said, Joe Cop was an Academy holdover. Joe Cop. Oh, here's a good one too from Lone Silence. So Joe Cop does their best Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles when he upper echelon do something. I wasn't going to address these people, but there's so many. They're on X, and then you're talking about other shows and other people. Look, this is not Joe Cop hour. So if you don't like this, or you don't like me, or you want to stay in your secret society of hairbags, be my guest. Don't come here. I don't want to be around you. I don't like you. I don't want to talk to you. There's a philosophical difference forever, and that's that. But remember that you're part of the problem. Probably one of the biggest. You're the gatekeeper. I complain all day, and then the minute someone does something about it, you want to chase them down. Really. Joe Cop. That's in a nutshell. But now, if you do like what you see here and you want to support the show, go to salgreco.com/support. You help me and Jack out. We're trying to expand this operation. We're the little engine that could. Sound like we have a ton of money. It sounds like we're being sponsored by all these big companies. It's not like we're, out there and you see us on billboards. We're basically funded by you people out there. Not the Joe Cops, though. So, if you can, please, salgreco.com/support. I'm trying to upgrade things as well on the website and do other things, but it's very hard when you're only basically two people. So that's the state of affairs right now on the Sal Greco Show. But we do our best as a little engine that could. Also, if you are Italian-American and you want to join the cause, go to iacrl.org, become a member of the Italian-American Civil Rights League. And then you could get your ticket, buy your ticket to come to the Florida chapter kickoff on March 11th. It'll be at Casa Calabria, where they'll be honoring the one and only Roger Stone. I know I have someone in the comments always asking. Yes, he's Sicilian. He's half Hungarian and half Sicilian. That's where the name Stone comes from. The Sicilian part, his name is Corbo. That is very Sicilian, from Connecticut. So that's the best way for you to join us, kicking off the Florida chapter, iacrl.org. Sign up, become a member, join, and then you get your ticket to the Italian-American Civil Rights League Florida chapter kickoff. And then if you are on these search engines all day, you're going to notice a lot of bias. So I suggest you try FreeSpoke. Now, I know you're tired of searching on the web for things and not getting the results you're looking for. I have something for you. FreeSpoke. FreeSpoke is a search engine that is all about authenticity rather than agendas. Labels media bias, no intrusions, or data leaking or your data being taken from you. Porn free, none of those ads, unlimited, unbiased AI, deep dive podcast searching, and you can get it by going to freespoke.app.link/Greco. Use the same link to get a 35% discount on your premium subscription. What are you waiting for, folks? This is the way of the future. FreeSpoke. There you have it, folks. Greco 35 gets you 35% discount on your subscription to FreeSpoke. This is funny. Stay Trained Up says, I'm working with a Joe Cop, my lieutenant, who talks a big game and has about 20 collars during his 20 years on. A real class act. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. I'm telling you, this Joe Cop is, I think I need some merchandise with that. The Joe Cop and hair bags for life. This is the problem on top of other things. Instead of everyone staying together, there's this niche group of the Joe Cops, and they want to protect the badge no matter what. You can murder someone, and they'll try to protect that. Oh, what are you doing? That murder's legit. You should have messed with us, bro. Then when they get indicted, I told you so. You couldn't do that. That's exactly who Joe Cop is. It's just ridiculous. So let's get to the first video, which actually speaks of an indictment.
So the New York Daily News comes out with this report before I do, that this police officer was just indicted for rape in Brooklyn. Well, it seems this officer has been charged with sexual abuse, sexual misconduct, and rape. And this incident that happened just a few months ago, they're now catching up to it now with an indictment. And he'll have to be back in court in May. He's suspended without pay currently. But what's interesting is, where are the Joe Cops? Now, the Joe Cops, whenever I post something about a cop, jump in my comments. Why are you putting this guy on blast, bro? Back in our day, bro, you're a snitch, bro. So is the reporter from the Daily News a snitch? Are you going to attack those reporters? Or are you going to say, you should have known better, bro. You should have known better. The Joe Cops are the problem. They are the low information person in a police uniform.
Essentially what they really are. I mean, look, that's the article. NYPD officer indicted in alleged rape after party. And I'm going to be honest with you. I get hit with so many, we'll say, tidbits on what's going on that I couldn't keep up. And this one slipped through the cracks, we'll say, right? And then the Daily News wrote about it. But where's Joe Cop? So this officer raped someone, right? Whether it's alleged, whatever you want to call it. He put himself in a position where now he's going to be indicted for something. It was a bad decision, right, to even get involved in these parties. This is why we don't party all the time like some other one previous administration kept doing, because this kind of stuff could come about it. I'm not saying, just stay home all day like a hermit, but, when I was a cop, I did my best to steer clear of everything, because this is what could happen to you. So now this cop is going to be facing these charges. Now, I don't see, I don't see the Joe Coppers coming out of the woodwork and going after that reporter, right? No one's going after the Daily News. He reported a cop as a rapist, but what happened there? I mean, Lone Silence is that Joe Kosh remind me of those drama queens who always complain but hate solutions because then they have no drama to be entertained and attached to. I've seen it with so many people over the years. And the problem is this kind of behavior is what brings other people down. It's like just brings the room down, It brings the room down. 92 tries to, what's up, Sal? I'm a little late. That's all right. We'll take get your 28, right? As other people like to say. now we have two videos I'll play, but let's play the first one in regards to some other stuff that's going on in the police department.
We have another unit in the New York City Police Department that is a frat house, the Public Security Section. I didn't even hear of this unit. Apparently, this male cop and this female cop were involved in some extracurricular activities at work while also arguing. Well, the male cop has been suspended, but the female, who's a detective, is only modified. What's interesting here is that the New York City Police Department as a whole has numerous scandals, such as so. None no bigger than the Chief of Internal Affairs himself, who is fraternizing with a subordinate, his driver, his main squeeze, a detective. And his executive is doing the same with a PAA. Nobody's being suspended there. Currently in the 4-6 precinct, there's a scandal where they also suspended, well, 2 cops, but there's a supervisor involved in that, and that supervisor hasn't been suspended. So we're seeing a pattern in the police department where the cops get punished, but not the executives. Oh, and by the way, Larry Pearson, now he was administratively transferred. That's after being demoted. That's after being modified. He's been administratively transferred from the Manhattan court section to the Queens court section. And you have to wonder, is this the soccer mom or the very same Chief of Internal Affairs trying to torture someone who had some sort of beef with Mr. Pearson's uncle, who we all know? More on that on the next episode of the Sal Greco Show.
So before I go to the next video, the Larry Pearson incident, right? I referred to this on the last show, what happened with that, right? So we all know he got modified. He was I-09 originally, then modified. Then now they also removed him. Somehow he was in the Brooklyn DA office. I understand a guy with a couple of years on. How do you go there? And he's a detective from Internal Affairs. And we know he's the nephew of the one and only Tim Pearson. Now, you got to take your feelings out, because I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about Tim Pearson, me included. I mean, I don't think too highly of the guy. But that doesn't mean now we're going to pile on his nephew, who to this date has not been named in any criminal investigations or anything involving Tim Pearson himself. So other than being related to the guy, we have nothing that points to him being involved in Tim Pearson's crazy world or whatever he's been doing or what he did. So Larry Pearson, like I said, was involved with a female. I don't know if this is an ongoing relationship. It's some kind of domestic issue. But this female is also has not, to this day, they cannot verify the claims that she has put forward. There's a lot of claims she puts forward. And, you know, you've seen that before, and you can say, okay, we're going to investigate all these claims. But then some of these claims go into left field. So he was modified. Obviously, they transferred him the first time from the Brooklyn DA office to Manhattan court section. Then he gets there. He's not even there a day or two, I believe. And now he's transferred administratively to Queens court section. So just so you understand, an administrative transfer to NYPD is like a death sentence. That will stay on your record for years. No matter who, you better have a crane. And I don't know if that crane is Tim Pearson anymore, but you better have a crane that could get around any interviews for anywhere you want to go where they say, why were you administratively transferred? It's in your file. It's like, literally, it's like the black book in your file. Administratively transferred. I know because I have friends that were transferred for various reasons, and it stayed on their record. And they always ask that at any interview for any position anywhere in the New York City Police Department. So he was administratively transferred. Now, do you want to know why he was administratively transferred? Well, the word I got, the allegation there is that they had transferred him to the Manhattan court section, yet the subject of the very investigation that they're having on Mr. Pearson is in the Manhattan court section. That's the excuse. So then how the hell do you transfer someone that you modified to go work with the subject of the very investigation you said Mr. Pearson's involved in? So for those, again, a lot of Joe Coppers that said he lives in Queens, that's why they transferred him. No, that's not what the job said. And to this point, like I said, the soccer mom, the illustrious police commissioner, she's got a problem with people from the prior administration. She didn't do anything about them, but now she wants to attack their next of kin. And there's certain people, like Quatisha Epps' family, like Tim Pearson's family. I know Jeffrey Madry has a family member on the job. These people now, she is trying to take out her rage over what was going on with the next of kin and not the actual issue that occurred. Just like she was trying to promote Fred Kreisman, who's now the assistant commissioner of community affairs, to deputy commissioner. That's what she wanted. That right there, that's Madry's brother. But he also has, I believe, a nephew on the job. So she says something going on with that. That's something you guys don't know about. That's another thing. I mean, you have a problem with someone, handle it. Don't go after their next of kin. Unless they're involved in some business of theirs, other than being a relative. Look, you could be related to someone and never know what's going on or even talk to them, other than, hi, how are you? For to this day, we don't know any of these relatives involved in any of their older, whether their uncle, their nephew, the uncle, the aunt, the mother, the father. We don't know if the cousin, that any of these other family members are involved in anything other than, I know two guys that were lieutenants. One brother, he's been in the media, and his other brother is like the complete opposite. He's a guy that everybody likes, and his brother is a guy who's quiet. But if you met him, you'd like him. So I'm just saying, you don't know, and they don't really mess with each other's thing, whatever they were doing in the NYPD. So this one, like I said, soccer mom has a problem. And for some people that like to throw a lot of allegations out there about color and things like that, well, look who's sitting around the soccer mom, and then say to yourself, is there a problem? Because she seems to only target one type of person, if you know what I mean. And around her, other than Chief Thompson, who she's known for years from sanitation as well, and before that when she was in the police department, should be suspended and terminated at this point for his fraternizing that all he does all day there, apparently with his driver and his executive doing the same with a PA. Nothing happens there, and the soccer mom just suspends cops left and right. Oh, official misconduct. Oh, fraternizing. But what is your chief doing? You have no problem with that? You don't see that you set the standard from the very top. Oh, yeah, and Mr. Hansy in the chief of department's office. But back to this story. So the public security section, which you'll see in the next video, is essentially a detail. It's a detail where they protect politicians. So these two cops, even allegedly involved in some kind of relationship or whatever, and of course there's extracurricular activities on duty, which, as you know, that's what the 4-6 had. That's a problem. But there's more to the story, right? So let's play the next video and we'll get into this.
So Inspector Rana is in the news. Why, you ask? Well, after my little expose on his little public security section, which AKA means that is a detail for politicians, such as the two people that were suspended were assigned to the Speaker of the City Council, Julie Menon. So this inspector, though, has rubbed the mayor, Mr. Mamdani, the wrong way. After my little expose, they are asking a lot of questions. Obviously, he is the commanding officer. He is also a big Eric Adams crony. So now the question is, how long does he hold on to being the commanding officer of this little unit that is a frat house? One of many under the soccer mom, who I don't know how she is keeping the police department running with so much corruption underneath her, but we'll see.
Again, so now you're learning that those two were assigned to Julie Menon, who's the Speaker of the City Council. And then, of course, the Joe Cops came out again. How could you put their names out there? Even though that, everyone knows, because you could get the orders and it says suspended and modified. I don't know who thinks it's okay for people to be protecting someone like Julie Menon, and then, well, I guess what? It's okay to be doing on-duty activity? You think that's okay to just go do, whatever it is you're doing in a relationship? So that seems to be a problem, a big problem, right? And so, but there's a little more to this story, because I believe there's one more, we'll say another piece to this. So Inspector Rana is in the news. Exactly, Inspector Rana. So I'm going to put that up because he's in charge of this. And what had happened is this incident was flagged by the mayor's office, because I don't think, obviously, like I've been trying to tell you, the soccer mom is trying to keep everything tapered down. So public security section is a unit, or the detail, that's what I'm going to play the next video, is the detail that takes care of public officials, elected officials. So now that you know that, and we know Inspector Rana is the commanding officer of this illustrious group where all kinds of mishigas is going on, let's play the final video to this.
Inspector Rana is in the news. Why, you ask? Well, after my little expose on his little public security section, which AKA means that is a detail for politicians, such as the two people that were suspended were assigned to the Speaker of the City Council, Julie Menon. So this inspector, though, has rubbed the mayor, Mr. Mamdani, the wrong way. After my little expose, they are asking a lot of questions. Obviously, he is the commanding officer. He is also a big Eric Adams crony. So now the question is, how long does he hold on to being the commanding officer of this little unit that is a frat house? One of many under the soccer mom, who I don't know how she's keeping the police department running with so much corruption underneath her, but we'll see.
Well, here's a real, we'll just lay it all out. Inspector Rana is a Eric Adams crony. He's big with the Desi Society. He's big with, I guess, and within the Arab community of Arabs that are in the NYPD. But he comes with a lot of baggage. He's been in and out of issues in the past. But the biggest thing with him seems to be he's Eric Adams' lackey. And apparently he's on the chopping block, because the mayor himself is not happy of what just happened, because he just caught wind of this, because the soccer mom and the mayor do not communicate, like I've told you guys here on a Sal Greco show in the past. So he's on the hot seat now, and any minute now there could be a change there. And remember, he recently, I believe somewhere out in Queens, when the mayor came to go visit some cops and say hello, he ran to go shake the mayor's hand. Obviously, he's trying to play that card, but they know that he's really an Adams guy. I mean, he was saying all kinds of things for Adams against Mamdani at that point. So, I mean, he's just like a wannabe politician in uniform, and he obviously has no idea what's going on underneath him, because this kind of stuff falls on his shoulders. You're in charge of this unit, and look at the mess that you have now created. So who knows what's going to happen? There'll be more on Inspector Rana probably in the future, and people that either drive him or work for him, because I'm sure there's a lot more to this story, because can't just be, again, we're suspending 2 cops and leaving supervisors out of this. So there'll be more to this, but now on to discuss this and a lot more, because there's even more going on in the police department, which is a frat house underneath this police commissioner. The producer, the co-host, and the wingman of Sal Greco Show, the one and only Jack Stern. Jack, I know you just heard a lot there. There's so much going on, but I mean, it's almost like you're scratching your head every 5 minutes going, what the hell's going on in the police department?
Literally. And it's weird how the police department always, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more momentarily, the police department in New York City always finds a way, Sal, to snake its way into the news. Once America starts attacking Iran, we start to hear about how there's going to be an increased police presence at various buildings that are affiliated with the Middle East, right? Other things are going on. There's an attack in Washington Square Park. We hear from Pat Hendry. We're going to hear from him. But I want to address this comment from B-Ski824, who said, get rid of that inspector rank. It's not needed. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think part of the problem with the NYPD's budget, and this is kind of a left field take, but I'll give it anyway. Part of the problem here is we have way too many ranks. And once you get to the executive level ranks, there's way too many levels that are commanding a very high pay scale. So what should happen is there should be, just like other police departments, it should go from lieutenant to captain to chief, right to chief. There's no deputy inspector. There's no inspector. And in terms of the star system, maybe only go up to 3 stars instead of 4 stars, because we have all of these people at the chief rank and we're paying all of them $250,000 a year. We don't have enough police officers on the street, so we're wasting money with overtime. And the rank system has led to a lot of the budgetary mismanagement, which has plagued the department for decades now.
Yeah, and there's so much with this. And I mean, I'm seeing, I saw another comment by BSKI said, sector car cops make $180,000 a year and you get laid on duty. Why did I ever retire?
Well, that's actually a funny comment, because even as a non-cop, I understand that, because it means that essentially zeros who are at the rank of detective or lieutenant or sergeant, who are essentially glorified drivers a la Morgan Freeman and Driving Miss Daisy, are making exuberant salaries to do absolutely nothing, just like Kaz Daughtry and Ingrid Sanders and all these other people. I know they're getting a lot of overtime because they're technically at work when they clock out for the day and they're going home, but it's still a screwed up system where you have police chiefs who you couldn't recognize them from a hole in the wall if you saw them on the street, and they have private security. Meanwhile, when people are addressing huge national, so I didn't see any private security with the Utah police chief when they apprehended Tyler Robinson for killing Charlie Kirk. Did you see any security with the police sheriff there? Did you see any security with Sheriff Rick Bradshaw when he was talking about the latest assassination attempt at Mar-a-Lago? Did you see any security in any of these other cities? Minneapolis, most recently, when they were talking about the ICE raids. I disagree with the police chief there, but he didn't have any security detail with him, and he was driving his own car. So there's something to be learned from all of these agencies.
I know. Well, they don't. They should follow the model of other agencies, but they don't like to do that. The NYPD is its own animal, and it's really bad. But before I go anywhere else with anything else, Frankie Paliguacci, $9.99 to the Sal Greco Show. Thank you, Frankie. There's a lot of espresso and cafecito here. We're gonna need defibrillators. The soccer is willing to do anything for the mayor, even backstab her boy Sid Rosenberger. We're gonna get to him in 1 second, in just a little bit, but I wanted to show you something else. And it's another story I learned about that I didn't, it's too much going on, but they wrote about this one too. Police cadet indicted for allegedly raping a 17-year-old girl he met online. All right. This is from the Brooklyn DA. And it says right here, it is alleged that during that encounter, the defendant engaged in sexual intercourse and other sexual contact with the victim without her consent on December 5th, 2025, abuse to a school guidance counselor, and subsequently reported it to the police. And in the actual article, which is disgusting, it says here, Ahmad El Natawi, 24, is charged with rape, sexual abuse, forcible touching, and sexual misconduct for the November 30th attack. According to prosecutors, he pled not guilty and was ordered held on $50,000 cash bail or bond. This is from Colin Mixon of the Daily News. I don't see the Joe Cops going after him. This is back-to-back people he's writing about. This is what was said here by the DA. I'll say this. The defendant is accused of lying about his age, arranging to meet a teenager, and then assaulting her when she rebuffed him. Gonzalez said, it's Eric Gonzalez. That's the Brooklyn DA. The alleged conduct is disturbing, which it sounds like, and completely unacceptable, especially from someone seeking a career in law enforcement. We will now work to hold him accountable. I mean, he got him he was on a dating app lying, and he went to the Woodside Inn and Queens. So that, I mean, this is just nuts. He forced her to perform. Oh man, this is
This has become an all too familiar theme, though. I mean, we've talked at length, and there's been numerous scandals, mainly the one involving Terrell Anderson, about screening cadets at the police academy. But when you see so many of them not only getting in trouble when they're in the academy, but also in the couple of years right after they get out, you start to wonder what's going on here, because you're either not vetting them properly or you're not correctly identifying some of the character red flags which are rearing their ugly head once they enter a career in law enforcement. That's problematic. If someone was convicted of a robbery, if someone was involved in a very violent crime, they should not be allowed to work in law enforcement. Far too often, the NYPD either turns their head the other way or makes excuses for people with character red flags that wouldn't normally be able to be allowed to work in law enforcement in other states. So my initial reaction, then we'll get into some of the more minute details, is that in the academy, you need to start screening people a lot more aggressively, because it's going to eventually trace back to the people running that operation. So,
if I remember correctly, this particular person had been named in another incident, I believed, in Brooklyn, which was something. This guy should have never made it this far, and it's just see some of the comments here, which is one battles after another one. There's two separate trending news stories about cops being accused and indicted of rape charges out right now, while the former chief of department was never charged. And that is another thing that people have a problem with. I have a problem with. Actually, the couple chief of departments should be charged with crimes that we're not seeing. Also, BSKI824 once again says we need sectors, not inspectors. That might be a good line there. Could use that on a shirt. Chief Mike Marino, shout out to Mike, says too many detectives and SA and admin positions. I could cut millions and not lose one pair of boots on the ground. And see, this is what I'm talking about. Mike understands personnel. There's a lot of misuse of personnel. You're seeing that. What I'm telling you today with this, you didn't even know about this public security section, which they put a cute little name attached to. Basically, this is a detail for politicians. Like the mayor has a detail. You have cops assigned to people in city council that need to go home, like Jumaane Williams, right? Jumaane Williams has put. So Julie Menon has, and these two, that's what they're doing on duty. So you got to, and who's in charge of this unit? Oh, that guy Rana, who's out trying to be a politician, is best friends with Eric Adams, and now he's trying to smooze over to Mamdani. Oh, but he can't control his own cops underneath him. This is what you're seeing, and this is the problem. And you're all being told that crime is down, and the soccer mom has it all figured out, and Joe Cop's going to run cover for them too because they complain and then they also protect. How do you see this going forward, Jack? I mean, this is the police. It's sad to say this, but we are trying to change the culture and change how this moves forward. It's not going to happen if everyone complains and then just goes to work. You have to figure out what's the problems and how do we solve these issues. No matter who's the mayor, who's this, who's that, it's down to the people. It's not down to the upper echelon of NYPD. These people like that could be removed, one flick. Hey, you got to go. But as long as they're there, and we also have that sergeant that got, the one from the Taconic Parkway, believe me, they were calling. There's all kinds of corrupts with that. And yet you still hear the Joe Cops trying to cover for someone. You kill someone's dead and we're going to try to cover this up too. That's your problem in the NYPD. If you don't get rid of this mentality, you cannot move forward, Jack. That's just how I see it.
One battle after another one hits the nail on the head by pointing out that the only crimes being committed in NYC right now are by the executives. So when the fish stinks from the head down, it sends a message to everyone else within the rank and file that everything's okay, regardless of what you do, right? When you see Jeffrey Madry going out and beating someone with his gun and still getting $153,000 a year pension, you think, oh, well, maybe it's okay to go out and act a little bit deviant. But the problem with the agency right now is they operate with a rules for thee are not rules for me mentality. So if you're a nobody, if you're a zero police officer, a cadet in the academy, and they find out you're engaging in deviant behavior, watch out, because they're sending internal affairs after you. They're opening an investigation. There's probably detectives showing up at your house. They want to make an example out of you. But if there's someone of a higher rank who commits the exact same crime, they will do everything in their power to brush it under the rug because of the leadership structure that takes place. And it's sad that it's a very hierarchical based organization. If that's going to be the case, you shouldn't have detectives within internal affairs investigating chiefs who are 1 star and above that could be in charge of giving them a promotion, because that's a clear conflict of interest. Yet the job never factors any of this into the equation. They just say they think of everything as black and white. So if you're a detective, you're going to go conduct an investigation. Even if you worked in narcotics your entire career, if you get promoted into a rank where you're working in housing, we're going to let you go figure it out because we think you learned enough skills in narcotics, but we're not going to give you any training. This, in a nutshell, is why you see all of these crimes being committed, is the mismanagement from the top down and the inability to recruit good, credible leaders. Also, for my generation, I could speak on behalf of all of us. A lot of us have a very negative perception of the police department. So recruiting the age 25 to 30 demographic amongst people who grew up within the 5 boroughs is going to be increasingly difficult. Whereas the fire department really have their pick of the litter when it comes to kids in my age range who want to do civil service. Same with sanitation, right? So I think when you consider all of these factors in totality, it becomes much easier to understand why all these problems are happening within the department right now. And addressing Michael Marino's comment, I think you have to get rid of special assignment. I'm sorry. I mean, no, it was the one about special assignment. I think you have to, I understand you want to reward lieutenants and sergeants on the job who can't get promoted, and you want to give them a little bit of a pay bump. But unfortunately, right now, it's like literally destroying and weighing down the payroll budget in a way that's insurmountable to overcome when you consider the budget deficit that the city is facing right now, $5 billion.
Yeah, I'm going to address Mike Marino asked if you were on the job. Obviously,
No, I was not on the job.
Lou says, so, but isn't a good one too. One battle after another. One says, Mike, if chief give orders and cops fulfill those orders, and then something goes wrong, i.e., Eric Garner, chief shouldn't be protected by inspectors, captains, lieutenants, and sergeants, and that does happen a lot lately. 92 Charlie says these units with lower ranks are given latitude when dealing with supervisors, but also it goes both ways, because you're seeing how this public security section. I mean, this thing is nuts. How this whole thing unraveled in a rather quick fashion, and you got to ask yourself: do other people, did they know about this in-house relationship? I mean, it's a frat house, and it is official misconduct. If people don't think it is, it is. It always has been. Just because in the '60s Joe Cop was doing everything to protect them, that it doesn't work that way. It is a crime. It's just they can't go back and do that, and go, oh, well, we let them do it back then. We're going to go after you for that right now, Lone Silence also said all the NYPD upper echelon needs is their own version of Pam Bondi to downplay all their crimes, as the Dow Joe is just short of 50,000.
It's not just short of 50,000. It's now all the way down to 47,000. So
I'd say, well, the more intercontinental ballistic missiles you test, I would expect that. I also want to say I got another tidbit. I don't know how true this is, but your VSF, which is your variable supplement, I understand it could be in danger as far as the NYPD, things that's going on with that. I could just give you a little bit of what I know here. And it says variable supplement fund is funded through a mechanism that transfers excess investment earnings from the main New York City pension funds to specific supplemental funds, CBCNY. Excess earnings transfer funds are transferred from the regular pension system, such as the New York City Police Pension Fund or Fire Pension Fund, based on the performance of their equity stock portfolios. The formula: a transfer is triggered if the return on equity is higher than a 12-month average return on 10-year Treasury bond rates. Actual standards: because many VSF payments are now fixed, $12,000 annually for many retirees, the funds are also maintained using actual standards to ensure they can meet future obligations. City guarantee: if the VSF lacks sufficient resources to pay the mandated benefits, the shortfall must be covered by the city's primary pension funds. Legal and financial structure: non-pension status by statute of VSF is legally defined as a supplement, is not considered a part of the formal pension or retirement system. Remember that. It's not guaranteed. It's not saying it. It's not a statute. It's not legally defined as a supplement. It's not considered part of formal pension or retirement system. Tax stream: are funded by the city. These distributions are generally exempt from New York State and city taxes, though they are subject to federal taxes. That's true. Administrative oversight: each fund, police, fire, etc., is administered by its own board of trustees, which establishes rules for the disposition of these monies. Department of Taxation and Finance, and this is what's going on here. They're saying what I'm understanding is you could be seeing that they're going to try to get rid of this somehow, or they just can't pay it. I just explained how the VSF is. That's the 12,000, this budget, whatever they're planning could affect this, meaning they might have to scrap this all together. So that was one of the latest tidbits I got. This word, it's buzzing around City Hall. And so if you have a VSF, we all have it. I mean, I don't have, but I mean, anyone who retired or is about to retire and you have a 20-year pension, look out. This is one of the things they're looking to act somehow, because this budget is got cuts from all different angles. They don't know how they're going to pay people. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so it's a bloated budget, and a lot of the services that they were promising to fund, they obviously can't fund because, lo and behold, Sal, there's not a money tree that just has $100 bills flying off of it, contrary to popular belief. Because a lot of cops I see on social media are saying we need to pay the cops more, we need to give them raises, blah, 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 3 to 5 years, they should reach their top salary sooner. That's another proposal that's been floated. But at the end of the day, when you have your most fertile tax base leaving New York City in bunches, as they are, to go do business in more tax-friendly states, and you just don't have an unlimited payroll. The payroll has also increased, and salaries for a lot of the ranks have increased, and you don't just have an unlimited spending pool. And as Mayor Mamdani said, and as Speaker Julie Menon said, they're going to need to look to cut funding in various areas. And when you also have so many chiefs and people in high ranks who are receiving 3/4 disability pensions that are in excess of $250,000 a year, I mean, all of these expenses start to add up so quickly that by the end, you're operating in a deficit, right? You're in the red when you add everything up and you consider all the raises that people are getting year after year. So the $12,000 that New York City gives its city employees, they're soon going to be no longer able to do that because it's costing them millions and millions every year. Because it's not like they just give $12,000 to people who are hurt or who receive disability. No, that $12,000 is for everyone. So this is a classic example of the city biting off more than they can chew during a time when things were going well financially, when the payroll was doing better, when they were collecting taxes at a good rate. Maybe they could promise $12,000 as a bonus each year, but now they're not going to be able to do it anymore. Now, all the people who are watching who are wondering, is my pension in danger? To be determined. I think there's going to be cutbacks with pensions. The variable supplement fund may be eliminated, but I don't think anyone who has a pension right now is in complete danger. With that being said, people who are set to retire within the next 5 years, or people who only have 10 years on the job that are a decade away from retirement, I think they should be concerned about their pension, because the budget right now, everyone's hanging on for dear life to try and keep their pension. And the city is not going to be able to financially pay everyone. So you just have to understand that at some point, pensions are going to be eliminated in the same way that Social Security is probably going to be eliminated, because that fund is insolvent, and people are predicting that'll happen within the next 7 years. Expect the same timeline for your pensions too.
And I love this one. 92 Charlie says high percentage of FDNY get 3/4. They should be looking at that department. And they
1,000%.
They have a VSF. They get it as well. And then one battles after another one says, this is funny, they can't touch the VSF. Rookie who had a detail with the old timer. Kind of like the Joe Cop saying that. That's what they're looking to do. So if you are in a union, there's a lot of union heads, you should be asking, what is this talk of the variable supplement fund? You're trying to take this payment that comes annually away. What's going on there? Why are you trying to cut this? And it says the city has to supplement it, but I'm telling you, they're going to try to find a way to stop this. And this has been said before, but now you have a mayor that has this wild budget and wild ideas. This could happen. And I'm just I'm waving the red flag in front of the bull. We're trying to get all the bulls in order and say, do you see this? Because you don't have to do anything. You sit on your hands. But when they try to take that from you and it happens, don't say we didn't warn you so, especially on this show. And somebody says, can you take 3/4 and the variable supplement? No, you can't do it. It's either 3/4 can't take variable. But for all those who retire without 3/4 normal, you won't get that. That's going to end at a certain point. They're trying to end this right now. I'm telling you, that's the talk.
And what did Mayor Mamdani say when he was asked about cutting the budget? What was the first area where he wanted to cut? The retiree reserve fund, right?
Correct.
So that's going to be where the chopping begins. Maybe the pensions are going to get cut down from 50% to 35%. I'm just floating possibilities here. 50% to 35%. Maybe they remove the variable supplement entirely. Someone in the comments here mentioned the FDNY being investigated for this, or how they should be investigated for this. Yeah, I agree. This is a citywide problem, guys. I know that we're making the NYPD seem like the redheaded stepchild of city agencies here, but no. I mean, this is really across agencies: sanitation, NYPD, FDNY. But the problem is, if they all operate with these crazy rules where people are getting bloated pensions, it's going to ruin the system for everyone. It's going to collapse the budget.
Yeah. Mike Marino does say you're wrong about the VSF. It doesn't cost the city money. It's self-funded and it greatly benefits the city. But I just laid out how it's done. But the problem is this obviously this idea has started floating around now that you have a new administration. So just keep that in mind with this, Mike, because there's a new administration and this is what they're floating around. How do we get rid of the VSF, and how is this going to benefit us, meaning the city, or they're gonna some kind of crazy budget scheme they have? That's the word from in the last couple of days, is that this is what they've been talking about up there at City Hall. He says there only once in 2010 did it cost the city to do their own mismanagement and poor plan. And give me a call, I will explain. I might have to have Mike on I like to get his take on how he would be running this department, because you have this soccer mom and all these fiscal problems. I think they could be solved. But you need the right people, and one of the right people that we don't have running the Department of Homeland Security, right? I don't know if you want to touch up on that, or you got anything else before we move on to.
Yeah, I'm actually happy Hunter NY brought this up. Your agency is Jacksonville Sheriffs. They recently had a scandal. So in case anyone didn't know what happened with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office recently, they had a cop on the highway patrol unit who essentially stole $14,000 in overtime, and he wound up getting arrested by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. But the one caveat here, and the thing that they didn't really mention, is that the chief of patrol, who essentially was his boss, whose home he was at while he was said to be working the overtime, was signing off on all of this, and she was kind of pressured to resign from the department, but she wasn't charged criminally. So sadly, this was just another example. I'm sure you heard about this too, Sal. This was just another example of someone from a higher rank being able to skate above the law because they were in with the chief sheriff in the department and they were more important. So they put this guy's head essentially on a totem pole, and now they're crucifying him, rightfully so, for stealing the overtime, because that is grand larceny. But, they're not blaming the culprit, but this is what it should look like. If someone steals overtime, they need to face the consequences and pay the price. It can't just be brushed under the rug to be dealt with at a later time, as every NYPD scandal involving overtime misuse is. Well,
the thing here though is, so they charged essentially, but the cop can't steal when the cop is being told to do X, Y, and Z because the chief authorized it. It's the chief that should be getting indicted, not the cop. The cop can't sign their overtime slips. They can't do any of this stuff. It's always the supervisor, which in this instance would be the chief. And what is the chief doing? Fraternizing, which you're not supposed to be doing, but you're subordinate. So there's a whole lot of mishigas here, and they're going for the lowest totem pole. Oh, we're going to go after the cop. So that's wrong. The cop should be saying everything that was going on, but the chief should be the one indicted right now. And we go back to the Madry case, and one day we'll have Quatisha Epps on the show. But with that whole story with Epps, if you remember, there were crazy things like Madry giving Epps saying, you got to do this overtime. You don't really have a say in it. And then, when you get paid, you're going to take X amount of money from this overtime you made and bring it to my wife and my house. So he was essentially authorizing overtime so that money could go back to him. So that is some outrageous stuff. So someone asked Eric Sanders goes to Florida. No, I think you got to practice also in Florida. But
well, this was kind of a reversal here, because you had the female is the chief,
yes,
and the male is the subordinate. Most of the time, it's a male as a chief, and the female is the subordinate. But sadly, it was kind of like an all too familiar theme, right? Eason, who was the chief of patrol, came out and said, "Oh, well, I wasn't in charge of authorizing the overtime." And then
give me a break! What a lie! Come on.
And then the chief of department said that she was essentially. I mean, he totally screwed up the press conference. He said that they had a long conversation in his office. And at the end of the conversation, she decided she was going to resign. Whereas this other guy, the officer who was involved, they just sent cops to his house, put handcuffs on him after a month-long investigation. So he clearly didn't get the benefit of the doubt. He was put out to dry. He was left out to dry. His head was put on a stick and shown around like it's show and tell at school. And she's walking away, a free woman, essentially, with no consequences. She's still probably going to be receiving a nice, hefty pension, even if she's not able to continue working for the department. And she's walking away, Sal, without any criminal conviction whatsoever. And that's what bothers me the most, because she knew about this overtime being authorized. She probably gave him the idea to do this. And now, because she got caught, she's revising her story. And as an executive, it's all being allowed.
Yep. It's sickening to
like
see
the
that.
Classic playbook.
And what was that comment that I had up right here? So one battle after another one said it's crazy because before this incident, I never heard anyone say a bad thing about Marjorie. Just goes to show you the nice guy syndrome brainwashes 30,000 plus people. That is exactly true. You saw how much of a monster this guy really was. But just so people understand, the chief authorizes. Now, I don't say either the cop should be on the job either, but the chief authorizes this whole scenario to happen. You can't, as a cop, you're not just going to do things. You need to be directed, because that's going to happen to you. Who authorized this? He can't sign his own overtime slip. That never happens in any job. So again, it has to be authorized from who? And
even if she's not his direct supervisor, she's telling someone else.
Someone.
That was the other argument. Like, oh, I'm too high up on the totem pole to be even supervising this guy, so I had no idea that this was taking place. No, and Michael Marina says this. They both should go. Yeah, they both should go, and they both should be facing equal consequences. It's not like, oh, you're of a higher rank, so we're going to give you a free pass, and you've been here for a while, so we're going to protect your pension. No, there's a difference between right and wrong. And as two people who have strong moral compasses, as Sal and I do, we're here to point out the difference between one another. What these two people did was wrong. They stole overtime. We're happy they're pursuing a criminal conviction, but the fact that it's so lopsided and one-sided for the person who is of a lower rank is extremely bothersome. It's disgusting. Hopefully the sheriff's office is either held accountable internally, or there's an external agency, maybe the FDLE, that looks into this, because this can't be allowed to just happen so casually too. Like she's caught giving out all of this overtime, which is a crime, grand larceny, and she's allowed to go explain herself to the chief of department. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I'm sure too, there were phone calls made throughout the course of this investigation. Oh, let's protect the chief of patrol. Let's make sure she's not indicted. Let's make an example out of this guy to make sure this never happens again. But let's make sure that everyone who's involved is not charged criminally. We all know that happens.
But again, I am inclined to say you can't charge the cop, because the cop can listen. How does he steal overtime? He can't sign his own thing. It has to be done by a supervisor. That's the person that's authorizing this whole, well, I know it's illegal, but I'm authorizing it. So then you need to fall on the sword. Now, in case, did he not get paid for this? Then you don't have anything. I'm just saying, you're looking at it from the Fuhrer is always both, just like the same thing with Epps. When you realize that then with Epps was the other way around. It was Marjorie, it was a man. But when you're in this spell and this guy has got you believing and telling you, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that. And then, oh, by the way, you're getting overtime and you got to bring me my home. You got to bring me cash out of this. This is the kind of stuff that really goes on. And this guy should not, in my opinion, shouldn't be indicted. They should be investigating that chief. He should be definitely, he's not going to be on the job. I don't know what other stuff this guy could be involved in, but that woman should be the one that falls on the sword. She authorized this stuff. She also said, I guess it's okay for him to be going to her home doing God knows what during job time, which is that's official misconduct. So you can nail him for that. But if you can nail him and saying he's stealing overtime, no, he's not stealing anything. He's being told what to do. But it is official misconduct. So yes, for that reason, you do have you can charge him with that. But that's not what they're doing, and they're excluding the chief. So how is this fair?
Yeah, they're excluding the Chief TK Waters, who was actually the one who appointed Easton. And let me point out too here, just to kind of talk about the justice involved. This officer is being tried over $14,000. There was another person in JSO who was investigated for stealing about $2,600. In the NYPD, people have been earning over $100,000 out of the chief of department's office since who knows when, and none of them are being investigated. And when an investigation is done, somehow it has to come through the FBI. It's never come through the Internal Affairs Bureau, which is supposed to be investigating said matter. So, I mean, stealing overtime is a very serious matter that most police departments and sheriff's offices don't tolerate. And yet the NYPD seems to be okay with egregious amounts of funds stolen. And then when the variable supplement fund is gone and you're not getting pensions and all of these other services are not able to be provided because of the financial mismanagement, maybe you'll understand the consequences a little bit better and why you should have monitored the budget more closely. And
that's why it's important. You know, we discuss a lot about New York City, because, again, the NYPD is the biggest law enforcement agency in the world. But when we talk about that, think about your own police agency, because what you just saw in Jacksonville is no different than what we've been talking about with the NYPD. You know, and Mike Marino's funny. He says, what did she say? But he's really got a big one. Listen. Again, she should be falling on the sword more than anyone with this. How the hell are you authorizing someone to A, go abuse this overtime, and B, they're committing official misconduct on duty? Because you fall on that sword of, she's telling me to do something. You got to report her, but he didn't do that either. So because she's saying basically commit a crime because I'm the chief, I'm telling you to do so. So how is she not charged? Do you see? And this is what you see, and this is why it's important to pay attention to what we say, because what we're telling you is going on in New York City Police Department might be happening in your law enforcement agency, in your town, and you recognize it, and then you start saying, hey, I have this story, or wait, this is going on. And don't be afraid. Joe Cop, he's not going to Joe Cop can't stop anything. All they are gatekeepers. They make you believe they're that big bully in the yard. They're nothing. They're the first ones running from anything. I remember them. That's why we call them hairbags. They're hairbags. You see them. It's like career hairbag. It's like they're so bitter with life, and you go, man, it's just, I wish he could, like Jesus could touch this person, but it just won't happen, you know. But we got some other stuff that happened.
Yeah, let's get into the Christi Noem stuff. That was a nice little sidetrack, though. Thank you to Stay Trained Up for bringing that up. I totally forgotten about that. We had kind of a busy day, but yeah. Anyway, Christi Noem, Miss Wonder Woman, as I like to call her, she seems to be on the way out the door, and she was confronted recently at a hearing about, first of all, her private. This is the bedroom on her private jet, which. I mean, Sal, I think that I kind of want to take over the Department of Homeland Security after seeing this, because if you get paid to fly around on a jet with a bedroom like this and all your meals are compensated, it seems like a pretty cushy position. But she's doing all of this as America is going through a tough time financially with a bad economy, and also as we're getting ready to fund another war as well. So she was confronted about the media company which she founded, which cost taxpayers $143 million to produce a propaganda campaign. $143 million. And this is the photo from the campaign as well. Miss South Dakota right in front of the president.
This is outrageous. This is outrageous.
This is clearly just another publicity stunt by the administration, because they're all about perception management and making sure people look at them positively. You had Wonder Woman on a horse with her jet and all of this other stuff. You shouldn't be spending hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of public relations on your agencies. It's a gross mismanagement of the payroll in the same way that the NYPD shouldn't be doling out that type of money on overtime. And the American people are starting to get upset over these sorts of things because, again, you know, your cost of living is going up and the government seems more focused on pontificating and putting on a show than serving you.
So many, and I tell you, and I think you can see the video. This is criminality. Joel Ramirez said that. Look, Terry Murnane says Trump should get rid of her. She's in way over her head. Hard X Core, shout out to you. You're back. I see you back here. He says so many cosplay positions in the second Trump administration. Just so you understand, too, this woman was asked about her relationship or whatever it is with Corey Lewandowski, who is he using this plane? Is that bed for him? I mean, he's flying around. Is he a government employee? I don't think so. She said he's a special employee. I don't know what that means. Could you play her being asked about this $140 million? People should pay attention. This is your money, folks. This is your money.
Yeah, so this is her. She was confronted by Joe Neguse from the 2nd District of Colorado at a recent hearing. And this is what she had to say in response to his question.
Outrageous.
Two of them were inaccurate, Madam Secretary. I'll read from the notice from your agency. Given the immediate action to significantly reduce illegal immigration and border crossings, DHS identified 4 companies. 4 of the hundreds of thousands of companies in the United States, you identified 4. One of those is this Safe America Media company. Where is Safe America Media headquartered?
I don't know.
I don't know either, Madam Secretary. We can't find it. We can't find a website. We did find an address that's registered for this company. Do you know where that address is?
Is there a problem with this contract?
I'll tell you about it.
According to
Madam
law,
Secretary, the address is
officials.
registered to a political operative. Madam Secretary, the company, and then I'll give you an opportunity to respond. The company is registered to a political operative in Virginia. Do you know, just by way of example, whether this company that received $143 million in taxpayer dollars, has it ever done work for the government before?
I don't know. I can't.
The answer is it has not. And do you know why we know that? Because it was incorporated 8 days before this contract went out. You want the American people to believe that this is all above board?
Yes,
that $143 million of taxpayer money just happened to go to this one company that doesn't have a headquarters, doesn't have a website, has never done work for the federal government before, and is registered apparently or attached to a residence from a political operative. And of course, one of the subcontractors of that contract, as you know, is a political firm that's tied to you back when you were governor of South Dakota. The reason why I ask these questions is that this is taxpayer money. And I presume, I don't know this for a fact, but Senator Tillis noted yesterday the way in which your agency is blocking the Inspector General from 11 different investigations that it is trying to conduct. I don't know if this happens to be one of them. I certainly hope it is, because eventually the facts will become public in this regard. And
oh my God.
Neguse might as well just put Noem in a stroller and start wheeling her around. I mean, he's owned her for years now, because remember, these two go way back to when she was trying to put up the Dakota pipeline in South Dakota, and he was a member of the Colorado House of Representatives in the late 2010s. He put up a lot of pushback to that, and he drilled her and crushed her over her budgetary mismanagement there too. But if you're an American person, you're hearing about her contracts, how do you believe that the government is actually serving you? Like, it's all about serving yourself and catering to your own personal interests and about neglecting the American people. You're flying around on a jet like that, and most people can't even afford to travel in economy where they don't get enough leg room to be comfortable on a 5-hour flight with the person in front of them squishing their feet together. Come on now.
Lone Silencer said it best, but of course the Joe Magas will not say anything. But you know why? I'll tell you the truth there. Corey Lewandowski has been in some sort of torrid affair with her for years. I mean, he got in trouble with her. He's seen with her. He ran her campaign or whatever it is. And he's got a history. He's a little handsy himself. He got in trouble, remember, on Trump's campaign. That's why he got kicked out. He was running his campaign. He got fired. Had to bring in Paul Manafort because this guy, he's just a mess. I don't know why he's somehow like Boris Epstein. These guys, Trump loves people that create chaos. This guy he wouldn't be a dog catcher anyway. This guy is no good. Yet here he is and he basically walked Christi Noem into a future. I mean, this should be an indictment almost. There's questionable criminal activity, kickbacks, and the luxury jet. She has no answers for this stuff. Well, I mean, and then you have all this stuff that's going on in Minnesota. It's like Hard X Core says it best. This society needs a reset. I mean, Mike Marino said you could apply the NYPD logic. If the bosses aren't held accountable, it will keep happening. It has a lot. It has to hurt a lot to stop it. It's hurting the country. It's hurting people's pockets. $100 just thrown in the wind.
No, very well said, Mike. The problem is the boss only cares right now about catering to himself, seemingly so, right? Like all of the employees within Trump's administration work for the president as opposed to the American people, and that's where the dichotomy exists. But anyway, it sounds like people are getting upset on Capitol Hill, and President Trump, who usually doesn't take the opinion of the American people, clearly is factoring in their opinion here because he's asking people around Capitol Hill from the House and the Senate whether he should get rid of DHS Secretary Christi Noem. And this goes to show that he's just about had it. It takes a lot for the president to have it with someone because he's given all of these people endless rope, especially in his second administration. I mean, his first administration, he was way less lenient. Revolving door of press secretaries, people in and out all the time. It's a total disaster. This time around, he seems to be a little bit more forgiving. But even with Christi Noem, she's just run out of steam because you factor in,
Right here, this is most important. Joelle Ramirez brings this up. She never said no to the relationship question, which means she's fraternizing also while she's supposed to be working and on a plane. And Jack, she's got to go. And I hate to say this, and
she can't stay.
Hard X Core says it here. This is how you lose the midterm. Blue wave income, and they can blame themselves. And I've been saying that for a while, and it's not even. Trump surrounds himself with clowns like this. This woman should have never been in Homeland Security. Another patronage job. You know who should have been there? But they're afraid that he couldn't get through confirmation in the Senate. Tom Homan. Why is this woman there? She is clearly like putting a janitor in charge of a police agency. Every problem you've seen is because she is incompetent. Just like Kash Patel. Just like Dan Bongino, you put the worst people in front. When you see the people that he has in other positions like RFK with the FDA, Bill Pulte and housing, you got Scott Bessent in the Treasury, you got Tulsi Gabbard, I saw Tulsi 2028, I'm all in for that, and CIA at the CIA and National Security. Hey, look at those positions. He doesn't really mention much about those people. He likes to go, Homeland Security is doing great. Really? Really? It's a free-for-all.
You've made me reflect a lot on kind of Christi Noem's ascension over the past few days. And she clearly got put in a position where she's punching way above her weight. As a local politician, she was fine, right? South Dakota House of Representatives, stint in Congress as well, local governor in South Dakota. But when you put someone who's a lifelong career local politician in a highly specific position, they're bound to fail. Just look at what happened in New York City with Brad Lander, right? I mean, great city councilman, decent job kind of as a local politician, public advocate, whatever. The minute you put him in charge as a comptroller where he's managing the budget, he looks like a deer in headlights and he does everything to dive away from the responsibilities of doing the job. Christi Noem tries to take on the responsibility. She just does an exceptionally poor job at them. Because she's not managing all of these matters related to immigration, especially in the state of South Dakota. So it was a wholly inappropriate position for her from day one. I get at face value it looked nice because she's cute or whatever. She got all these plastic surgeries, Trumpified with the long hair. But at the end of the day, actions always speak louder than words and looks in this business. And she's done an absolutely horrible job. And the public seems to hate her more and more by the day. It doesn't matter if you're Democratic or Republican because she mismanaged the killing of 2 innocent citizens by ICE agents in Minneapolis. She's answered all of the questions she's been asked almost terribly. Every public relations expert would give her an answer. And she's just not a representation of what DHS is supposed to be in this country.
Yeah.
Exactly. Great comment by the Lone Silencer. DHS needs a tough, aggressive leader. It does not fit her style or any woman, in my opinion. I would push back on the last part. I think there are women who could fit into that role, just not her, because she doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah, well, there's more because obviously, I think Trump should step in at this point, and you need a new head of DHS. Get her out of there. But what else we have? Because there's a few things. I guess you want to touch up on this whole Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes thing, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird when you see this division within the MAGA base. On one side of the aisle, you have the Looney Tunes of the right who are defending President Trump feverishly over everything he says and does. Then you have the more critical thinkers who are Trump loyalists for a very long time, but have seemingly reached their breaking point. And these two in particular, who are kind of the spokespersons of the MAGA movement, right? You have Alex Jones, the leader of InfoWars, and then you have Nick Fuentes, who kind of speaks for the younger generation. And both of them went absolutely scorched earth with one another the other day. Take a listen to this.
Well, yeah, there's no bench at all. Trump said it himself today. He said, I'm MAGA, not Tucker, not Megyn Kelly. He said, it's just me. And you go, really? It's not Tucker, it's not Marjorie, it's not Thomas Massey. It's just you and your war with Iran and your Epstein Files.
Thinker, I've told you probably earlier, Nick, I respect you. Just something you say about you're a leader, you care. I'm like, you're the future, Nick. We're counting on you. A real leader immediately recognizes younger bulls that are going to lead the people in the future. That's what a tribal leader does. With Trump, it's this ego thing where anybody else being strong is bad. And as he gets older, it gets worse. It's sick.
You're right. That's like a boomer thing. That's the baby boomers, or he's 1946. This is like a baby boomer thing. They will not let us have anything. They're hoarding the wealth. They're hoarding these fiefdoms. You're right. It is an ego thing. And at the end of the day, that is really his issue. Nobody wants to admit it. It's actually brave of you to say that because that's a huge thing. A lot of people say, oh, it's his advisors. He's getting bad advice. It's his personnel. It's him.
No, I said back in March.
Spot on. And there must be validity when these two are having that conversation.
Yeah, and I'm listening. I know Alex. He's crazy. Sounds crazy at times. I've never met Nick. I've heard some of the stuff he says. He makes sense, but he's a bit of a jackass himself, so I wouldn't want to associate with him. But a broken clock is right twice a day. So what can I say with that? And that happens. So
it's weird, the state of the MAGA movement right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is like Miss MAGA, the most MAGA extremist known to mankind, the minute she pushes back against Trump because he won't release the Epstein files, she's chastised and sent to the gulag. She's no longer MAGA anymore because she wants pedophiles' names released. What type of world are we living in? President Trump also, when he rationalizes relationships with Democrats, he says, I created the MAGA movement. I know what's best for it. You guys are not allowed to chime in. It's literally like a cult-like mentality. I am the deity. I am the leader. You are not allowed to question anything I do. I say, go jump off a bridge. Go jump off a bridge. I say, cut your nuts off for me. Cut your nuts. Come on. We're not a bunch of sheep here. We're going to critically challenge your ideas when you're doing things that we don't agree with. And that's the bottom line. Enough is enough. The war on Iran, the Epstein Files mismanagement, the ICE agents in Minneapolis, no matter how you feel about that. I mean, it's gotten to be too much. And we have 3 more years left in Trump's term, too.
PBE 777 said, I see a lot of weak men making excuses for inaction and appeasement. Yeah, it's, I tell you. I don't know what to say about that. I won't ever really. I mean, like I said, Fuentes says a lot of things. Sometimes some of it makes sense, but he himself is an odd ball, and why I wouldn't be talking to him at all. But he does make a point there, and so does Alex Jones. There, it's not people turn their back. It's either look. You were elected by the people, so you got to do best by the people. The I know better than you stuff, that sounds a little like almost like a dictator. So be careful. Like I said, we voted for this guy. I mean, I did. And I'm not saying people have buyer's remorse, but you have to hold the people that you voted office with their feet to the fire. So I would keep that up because people are not happy. I mean, they sent an intercontinental ballistic missile. They fired it 2 days ago or a day ago from California. What is that about? This is a missile. This is actually the nuclear bomb that would basically level anyone on this planet from anywhere. Why are we firing this thing in the middle of this thing where you're having Iran? So they say it was planned. It's always an excuse. It was planned, but again, and this Epstein Files thing is not going away. Bill and Hillary Clinton perjured themselves the other day. You're not talking about it because you're too busy worried about the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah that they killed, his son was always in charge, by the way. His son was the one doing all these crazy things, killing the people in the street. The father's 86 years old. You don't think they had a plan on, well, the older people will pass away at a certain point. So we're already getting structured in a different way. Right there, U.S. tests doomsday missile off California coast as war in Iran rages. Verify the effectiveness. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what you're really doing. People, it's not what people voted for. Really, I keep saying this conflict in Iran, who does this benefit? Does it really benefit America, or does it benefit the interest of another country very close to Iran and maybe other countries? But does it really benefit this country? You just attacked this country's leaders, who the son already was taking over anyway, and he's running around. You don't know where he is, apparently. This is like it's WWE. But at the cost of what? How many lives? 6 soldiers, I believe, are up to now. American soldiers perished because of this. If that count keeps going, the American people will turn on you real quick, except the sycophants. They still believe it's not in 2015. MAGA just got there that weren't there. Oh, we love Trump, everything. You don't love people dying. That's all I could say. People don't want to see that.
And it's like getting involved in politics nowadays almost feels analogous in nature to going to the casino, because at the end of the day, the house always wins. The uniparty of elites, which is the two-headed snake that I always discuss, always finds a way to plot with one another so that they can they can cover up the most important things and get us to be outraged over things that are a lot smaller or a lot less important in the grand scheme of other events that are taking place. So, yeah, I mean, it's terrible, everything that's transpired. Nobody my age agrees with sending innocent men and women who are in their 20s away to get killed for a war that we're not even directly involved in. So, yeah, I mean, it's terrible what's going on in this country. Now, we also promised that this was going to be short term. Now it's long term.
PBE 77 says this. I guess removing Maduro was bad. And saying that Iran is the largest, this is the Trump talking point. Iran is the largest supporter and financer of terrorism on earth, but who does it help? Iraq was that first. Then that didn't work out. You got to stop falling for these narratives. You could go in and take out Maduro. You know why? Venezuela, the people hated this guy. They don't hate that leader in Iran.
No.
Millions of people there. Okay?
You awoke a sleeping giant.
And they have, unlike Maduro, they have real weapons and real ways to try, and they have a network, and that network features some people that are already here. So in this country, so you have woken up this little network now, and you got to hope that cooler heads will prevail. But you're already launching drones because his son is part of this company that has drones that they used in the Russian-Ukraine war. That's an Israeli company, and now they're going to use in this war. So who does it benefit? That's what you need to start looking at.
And let me ask one more question about that to PB 777, and then we'll move on to the next thing. If Iran was such a threat, why were we not being actively threatened by them? Why was nobody scared about them until we attacked them?
Out of nowhere.
It just happened out of nowhere randomly. We weren't even really in a conflict with them because we had mutual allies. So I don't want to hear it.
There was a ceasefire, so I don't know where this happened. Oh, E Diddy 2490 says Kevin Durant also owns stock in the drones.
Yeah, that's definitive proof that the uniparty wins, right? Because whether you're on the left or the right, if you have enough money, your interests are going to be represented. And it seems like we're going out and fighting for Israel. Anyway, something happened in the Senate yesterday, which was totally unacceptable. It was a direct result of this and the public unease. So Brian McGinnis, who was in the Marines, decided to interrupt a hearing, and he was aggressively attacked by Tim Shee, a senator from Montana. So let's just take a look and see what happened.
Israel is the reason for this war. America does not want to fight this war for Israel. Let's go. Come on, let's go. America does not want to send its sons and daughters to war for Israel. Your inability to name that shows you have this as leaders. This is wrong, and nobody wants to fight for Israel.
A reminder to all our
Commandant, please stand up as a Marine and stand up for America. No one wants to fight for Israel.
So this is where things get really ugly here, and this is really everything that was wrong with the situation. Because Sal, I mean, you're a former cop. You've dealt with similar matters before. If this guy's staging a big commotion in a Senate hearing, the cops have the right to arrest him, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But then all of a sudden you have him holding on to the door, Tim Shee coming and getting involved, which you're not a law enforcement officer, so why are you helping the cops? And like, you're about to break the hand of a military veteran who went away and fought for this country and is now expressing his opinion, which is his First Amendment right, and you're like shunning him for it.
Yeah.
Shame on you. This is absolutely disgusting. And this is the same guy that was taking donations from Apex in Israel as well.
Yeah, I would, if you keep watching this, there's more at the end. I mean, the guy broke his hand, but later on, you'll see him outside and he's in handcuffs and he's talking about free Palestine. This guy's an activist, first of all, from the Green Party. So he does this a lot. Now, he has a right to speak. I'm not saying that, he doesn't have the right to do what he did. I don't think he should have taken it this far where now, look, he's holding to the door. It takes 4 people. Get up. Owen Schroyer's done this. Get up, say what you got to say. And as you walk out, keep talking, and then you're out, right? He like, this is bad. I mean, he got hurt doing this.
Very ugly.
Ugly. It's ugly. And I understand what he's trying to say. Everyone has a right to say that, but I think maybe he could have just done that a little different way. He didn't get hurt, but again, he's an activist. He mentioned free Palestine, all this other stuff afterwards. And I'm like, how did it get to that? What the hell is Palestine? And this is the part. He's talking about Palestine, that Palestine won't be free. What does that have to do with this? Iran is not Palestine. It's, then you're going into your targeting one thing. She's talking about Israel is the great evil and all this stuff. When it's really down to a couple of people that are in charge, where you really think about it, it's that uniparty feeling, not country. Again, when I say who's it benefiting? Who's it benefiting? That's the main point. And I see PB he asked me something at PBE 777. And it's not, I'm not against you. So you said I ask a question, repeating a talking point. You said I should think for myself, but when I ask a question you disagree with, it's a talking point. Seriously, Sal. No. What I'm trying to say is, when you say Iran is the largest sponsor, where's the evidence of this? Or that is, they're trying to program you to say this, to justify their actions of attacking this country. Now, you got to remember, every action has a consequence. You're provoking another country. Now, and this guy campaigned on, we're not going to do that. Remember, Kamala Harris will get you in World War III. This could lead to that. Don't think that if you start putting boots on the ground, which they haven't said they're not going to do, even though they're fighting and Congress is saying no. Where have we seen this before? Operation Freedom. I remember Iraq. Oh, it's over. Okay.
It's a repeat of the George W. Bush profile and the George H.W. Bush playbook, right? They both did the same exact blueprint where they sent us to the Middle East to get involved in a war that we had no business getting involved in. And I second your point, Sal. Listen, I don't agree with going and staging this crazy protest where you're hanging onto the door and in a Senate hearing. I think that's taking things way overboard. I actually am sympathetic to the police officers here because it took 4 of them to try and take this guy off the door. That's a very hard job.
Make your point, but don't make it where people are going to hear.
Don't do that. Don't do that. And like a lot of the police officers who were arresting him might have agreed with him, but they're there to do their job and they have to conduct arrests. So it's kind of a sad set of circumstances, but it still was totally mismanaged. And then you have a guy who's being funded by Israel getting involved. Just sit on your ass and don't turn around and say nothing, bro, because you getting involved and like breaking this dude's hand now all of a sudden makes you look bad. Like it puts him in the wrong.
I guess Mike Marino said Iran had to be addressed, read history. But I say it where, okay, well, we had a ceasefire with them, with Israel, right? So now you're going to kill the 86-year-old leader on paper whose son is the one that directed whatever's going on in that country. How would you like if another country comes in and says, I'm going to change the way you do things because I can. I have more weapons and all that stuff. You wouldn't like that either. Sometimes you need to just take yourself out of this sort of situation. That Middle East has been a problem. I don't know how long. I thought we had peace with them, but apparently not. Iran. So now we're in a conflict that's going to cost people their lives. And really, does it benefit this country to take out Iran? Because you're not going to take them out, by the way. It's going to end up costing you more than you think. I'm not willing to do it. And if you're willing to talk like that, then are you willing to send your son and your daughter there? That's the next question, because that's where this leads. That if you're okay with that, let's bomb away. If not, then you should go. You need to have restraint, because that really, it's not like we're going to war with Canada. They're up north and they're our neighbor, or Central America or Mexico. What are you doing? I'm not. Yeah,
and also, everyone in the comments, I'll address this briefly and then we'll move on. Everyone's comparing this to Iraq and as a country. Iraq and Iran, they're both Middle Eastern countries, but Iran is a lot more developed than Iraq. There's a lot more regulations. And like the citizens there don't want to go to war for the same reasons that we don't want to go to war. They're suffering from inflation, the devaluation of currencies in their economy. So like they're dealing with all of the same problems as a developed country that we're dealing with. Yeah. And like they're saying we don't want to go to war either, which is why if they're suffering economically, they're not going to go to war with us. Like this is making my blood boil. Why would you attack us if you're in a financial deficit?
Well, look, PB77 said, you have been researching and following Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the actors in the region for longer than the past year. I'm not being programmed. I've researched and followed it since the late 80s. Since the late 80s, has Iran ever, when's the last time, has Iran come here and starting wars and starting killing people? Whatever they're doing over there, whether you like it or not, you're very far away and insulated from that. So if you better know what you're dealing with, because it's going to cost. I don't know who's in this guy's ear or Trump's ear. All right. Iran, like it says here, Iran controls 30% of oil within the world. Now you pissed them off on top of it. They closed that whole strait there. So gas prices are going up.
$4 a gallon by me now, up from like $2.75 or something like that.
Yeah. Look, you have to try to come up with a situation in a diplomatic manner. That's what I'm trying to tell you. All those countries in the Middle East, Mr. Trump will not solve that problem. That problem probably can only be solved by Jesus Christ himself. And I don't even know if that could happen. They're fighting for millions of years. There's nothing like this. Probably goes back to the beginning of time. They will always be fighting. So you will not save the world by going there, and they always have another. You did the same thing in Afghanistan. How'd that work out? You can't get rid of this leadership. They're always like cockroaches. They keep coming up. You can only try to contain whoever it is, and then they contain that little country. You just don't want that here. What about all the homeless people that are in the street? All the Vietnam veterans, all those veterans from all these other wars that nobody cares about. People were blown up. They can't even walk. Oh, let's go send more people to Iran, of all places. That's a great idea. You can't even handle your own money. What about the money in this country? Be smart. That's all I'm saying.
Iran has not been involved in a war directly in hundreds of years. For those of you in the comments who think that you're experts, look up the concept of a proxy war. Iran only fights in proxy wars. They use smaller nations to do all of their bidding, essentially. As I just pointed out, they're actually suffering through all of the same issues that we're suffering through right now, and as such, do not want to be involved in a war. So, like, they were posing just about zero threat to us as a nation until the government told us that we needed to attack them or we were going to get taken over as a country, which wasn't feasible either because, as we keep pointing out, they had an 86-year-old leader who was avoiding conflict at all costs.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the incentive to take him out, is he was avoiding conflict and we needed conflict.
Look, right here. Joe Ramirez says, just think about this. A $20,000 drone for defense, $500,000 for a missile.
Yeah. And think about how much that's costing us as American taxpayers and how they're going to need to get the funding from somewhere, which is going to come directly out of our pockets. So when there's an increase,
Matt thinks we should stick to the NYPD. Listen, Matt, everything's fine. Or send your son and daughter out there. If you're willing to do that, then go rah-rah for Trump and all this stuff. This man, and trust me, I know a lot more of what's going on than a lot of you. He campaigned and he promised not to do anything crazy, and he's bombed like everybody. And he's sending intercontinental ballistic missiles out in the ocean. I don't know what that means. That missile could basically destroy the world. And again, you're stuck in that bubble. You're cheerleading Trump. The guy's not a deity. And cooler heads have to prevail. You're never going to win by let's go and destroy other people. Remember that. It's the same concept as in policing. You're going to go out there. Joe Cop's going to save the world. I'm going to punch people. I'm going to do this. You're going to lose. But you know what? I don't need to read World War II. Read the Bible. How about that? Read the Bible. Read
the Bible. And before all of you become experts in the comment sections, do a little bit more research on the concept of proxy wars and what's actually taking place in the Middle East. But anyway, we will take Matt O'Brien's advice for 1 second here and get back to the NYPD and New York City related stuff before we get out. So, and this actually kind of ties back to the war. We usually don't talk about the station affectionately known as We Always Broadcast Con Men, but they were back on the news because Sid Rosenberg went on the air and he called Zohran Mamdani an America-hating, Jew-hating, radical Islam cockroach running our once beautiful city. He also addressed President Trump, asking him to stop complimenting. So let me address the second part first, Mr. Sid, because I know you like to watch our show. The president values his relationship with the mayor of New York City a lot more than he values his relationship with some radio host who's hosting like the bottom morning show in New York City and is bending a knee to John Catsimatidis 24/7. That's number one. And that's true for all of the MAGA extremists who are criticizing Mamdani, Laura Loomer, all of you. Trump cares more about Mamdani than he cares about you. A tough reality to accept, I know, but it is true. Anyway, he called him an America-hating, Jew-hating, radical Islam. This type of rhetoric has absolutely no place in media. And it's dangerous because you don't know what types of extremists are hearing it and plotting to go out and hurt someone. That's probably the biggest problem with corporate media is things are taken out of context and people who feel very strongly on one side or the other end up acting in an inappropriate way too often.
I say this right here. Sleepy Joe said, definitely done purposely to stir up viewers and listeners. I mean, Lone Silence of Laura Loomer belongs in an institution.
Larry Loomer. That's her nickname.
Larry Loomer. I tell you.
Nowadays, she looks more like a Larry Loomer than a Laura.
I told you this from the beginning. We were saying this three-car Mamdani. They now have Andrew Cuomo on WABC. Do you think their ratings are really where they say they are? Those ratings are so low that now they're trying to stir up controversy in order to make it appear like WABC is the TV. Okay, just so people, you got to realize that, and you know, I don't know what Sid Rosenberg's doing. He's been against this guy, and then he's apologizing because he wants this guy on his show to say I'm having him on my show. You know, hey, this guy's partying with like John Shell, and this guy, like really, like I don't know. That is a setup. If you guys can't see it, it's just to create some, you know,
storylines
thing so that you'll listen to the show because their ratings, you have Andrew Cuomo there. How good are your ratings with Andrew Cuomo on WABC? A guy that literally destroyed the state. Literally destroyed the state. He's talking like he knows what he's talking about. Meanwhile, people's relatives are no longer with us because of his brilliant decisions. And here is a chance where if people think I'm against Trump, that guy was saying that everything was Trump's fault when it wasn't. It wasn't. You can't blame him for what happened. But I could definitely blame Cuomo, who was wasting money, and they did a little deal with their little hospital beds and how they put things in the hospital and who was passing away from things. So he is one of the worst. This guy should just like fade away from the public eye. Instead, he wants to be back in it because he can't help himself. And John Katz has given him that chance. What a great guy John Katz is. So that whole thing is so everybody gets in their panties in a bunch over it, and then you want to listen to them again. That's all that is. I mean, he sounds crazy. Says he's always been like that, and all he's doing is like the pit bull work of John Katz. That's all that was.
Well, Sid Rosenberg, I mean, he's the classic WWE showsman, right? Because he goes on, he criticizes Mamdani, and then apparently they had a closed-door conversation, and he didn't release any of the details about what was said. So it's classic con man behavior. He pretends to be someone with the red light is on and the camera is rolling, but the minute all of that is done, he's a completely different person. And all of this is just a show for entertainment value, which is really screwed up when you think about it, because this is supposed to be real-time critical political discourse, not entertainment value-driven headlines that aren't based on any factual information. And that's essentially what it's become with Rosenberg calling Mamdani a cockroach. Like, if you want to hit him over the head about him increasing property taxes or having all these crazy policy ideas, go ahead and do it. Talk about his actual shortcomings. But instead, you're going after him over ad hominem character attacks, and you in turn just look like an idiot. No one thinks you're funny or entertaining or even cool doing stuff like that. And then you just get put in your place by John Katzimatidis, who's really calling the shots in terms of your editorial content. Nice job.
That's all he's doing. So that's my.
He's carrying around water for John Katzimatidis
yeah.
At the end of the day.
So I mean, look, I guess the temperature went up today on today's show. People, you shouldn't take things personal. I mean, look, here's a comments from the esteemed soccer mom. Those comments were wholly inappropriate and deeply harmful. I do not share those views in any way, and any rhetoric that seeks to dehumanize and disparage someone's religion cannot be tolerated. I actually agree with her.
Yeah, I do too.
But she's right. So I guess, Sid will try to have her on the show in another week or so. Well, who knows with that guy? But like, really, like, cooler heads need to prevail. That's basically the mantra of the second half of this show. Like I said, the Maduro thing was the right call because you got in and got out. You didn't kill anyone, actually. You actually just went in there and you might have killed some of their soldiers that were trying, but they got Maduro and brought him back. Iran was never going to be that. And all we want is, you don't want American soldiers and this conflict to go on for decades. We've seen this before. I thought we weren't going to get into it. All you got to do is hope and pray that it doesn't get any worse. Okay, that's what I.
No, seriously, and one more time. Again, we need to contrast Venezuela, a communist country where everyone hated the dictator who is a drug cartel leader, with Iran, where you had an 86-year-old leader who had been in place for 33 years, and they're not looking to get in a war. There's a big difference.
I say this, to PBE 77 said, but blocking law enforcement is okay if you disagree with immigration enforcement. No, that's, whose problem that is? That's that woman we just showed you, Christi Noem, who has no idea how to run Homeland Security. That's
it's funny too, because people like draw all of these conclusions based on certain talking points that you make. So I say that the situation with the ICE agents killing 2 innocent civilians was mishandled, mind you, not taking one side or the other. And then everyone starts to call me some liberal extremist. I go on the other side and I take conservative stances on things. People call me a MAGA extremist. It's like you can't win in today's day and age. Like, if you're in the middle, you're not taking one side or the other. So, I mean, I just hope that there's a little more unity during a time like this, because a lot of us all want the same things, regardless of partisan affiliation. We need to work together to accomplish them, because this level of divide where we're constantly chomping at each other's necks is never going to produce good results.
Which is why you got to watch Highlight. It was on yesterday. The Chargers were playing. You could catch that on Friday night at 7 p.m. You could see that on the Highlight League channel, worldhighlightleague.com. You could check that out, and you'll feel better, and you'll say, okay, there's something good. There you go. See, those are the games that were for this week and next week. You can check it out Friday. Fireballs and the Chargers. My Chargers are playing, so you can check that out at the Jam Arena live. This will get your mind off of things. Also, if you feel inclined, please, you want to help out the show, support what we're doing. We're trying to expand. salgreco.com/support. If you want to follow us, please hit that like, share, subscribe button on The Sal Greco Show on YouTube. That's the channel. On Rumble, same thing. Hit the Rumble button, hit the like button, subscribe on there. The Sal Greco Show on Rumble. Also follow us, The Sal Greco Show on Instagram, on TikTok. And if you're watching on X right now, on X, The Sal Greco, that's the handle. Please like this and share this out to all your friends, especially those in the low information bubble. I think it's been a fever pitch show here. There's a lot of emotions, but that's why I don't like to get emotional. I just like to pitch fact-based analysis. So I hope no one gets offended here. You're always welcome in the comments. I mean, PBE77 is always in here, so don't ever take things,
No, never take things personal, and that's just the nature of what we do too, guys. No one's trying to attack anyone in the comments section or make personal attacks against people. It's just when you engage in civil discourse with people disagreeing over certain topics, people are going to start to get emotional. The temperature is going to get turned up, and that's going to be the way it is. And for certain things, we're going to have to agree to disagree, and other things, we're just going to open up a conversation, and everyone will think differently. That's just the way it'll go.
I agree with you, PB77. So don't take things in a bad slight, we'll say. But I think that's a wrap. It's been going on for quite almost an hour and 46 minutes. So I'll see you on Monday. We're going to have a guest for Monday from the city council. Stay tuned for that one. So if you don't have anything, we have nothing else, Jack. I hope you have a good weekend. Everyone out there as well. Enjoy the weather. I mean, hopefully New York City doesn't, no more windy snow and all that in the Northeast. But hope everybody go to church. Feel better about things. If you don't go to church, go to synagogue. If you're not Jewish, then go to the mosque. Just pray on things. Hopefully everything works out for the betterment and for society and for as whole for the country. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a great weekend. We'll see you Monday at 11:05 a.m. And, of course, stay tuned because you never know what kind of news will be pumped out from the Sal Greco Show. So with that being said, we're both going to sign off from South Florida, which, as you know, is a sunny place for shady people.
What I'm asking New Yorkers for is to look back at all the things I've done as a deputy commissioner for operations, the assistant as assistant commissioner, and my time as a not only as a New Yorker but as a police officer. I get stuff done.
Listen, there was a book that came out that Jasmine Ray wrote, and in the Daily News today, it was stated that there was a sexual action that happened in Borough Hall. She reported in that book, and it wasn't. You're a dark, sick person, man. You know that? You're a dark, sick person. Your name was on the byline. And there's some of you that have been covering me. You guys could part. Let me do this. Y'all could depart. Some of you have been covering me for 3.5 years. Some of you are so sick and dark, and you're the leader of that. You're one of the most dark writers that I've ever seen in this city. And your personal sick vendetta and the sickness of how you think of over-sexualizing a black man, that in the book is stated that there was a sexual action in Borough Hall. That was never in the book. But that's typical of the sickness and the darkness of your sick mind. You're one of the sickest reporters I know. Go to the next question. You're a sick person.